What if I told you that the most entertaining team to watch of our generation and completely revolutionized basketball has already begun to be lost to history? You may be thinking the Golden State Warriors haven't gotten lost, but I'm not talking about the Golden State Warriors. I'm talking about the 7 seconds or less Phoenix Suns. Many remember the Baron Davis, We Believe Warriors, and certainly remember the Steph Curry Warriors, but many forget the Steve Nash, Mike D'Antoni Phoenix Suns. This era was designed around pushing the pace and playing a brand of basketball that opposing teams simply could not keep up with. Through this era, the Suns saw some of the most successful seasons in franchise history. But only 20 years following this run, they are an influential squad that seemingly no one talks about anymore. Today, we're going to break down the 7 second or less Suns from their beginnings all the way to the end of the era to answer the question of just how good were they actually. Let's start with how this era began. In the 2003-2004 season, the Suns got off to an extremely slow start, with the team opening up the year with an abysmal 8-13 record. So they fired Frank Johnson and made a franchise-altering hire, with Mike D'Antoni stepping up as the head coach for the remainder of the year. The final record was an unimpressive 29-53. However, there was a fair amount of talent on the team, with players like Shawn Marion, Joe Johnson, and rookie Amari Stoudemire leading the team. Along with good talent, the Suns also had a coach they felt could move them along to really build something. Now they needed a guy to maximize this talent and bring it all together. And that's when the 7 seconds or less Phoenix Suns era really began. The 2004-2005 season was when the real fun began. The front office went right to work building a team to fit his vision for the offense. They made their biggest move as a franchise during this era, signing Steve Nash to a 6-year, $63 million deal. This wound up being the perfect addition and gave the Suns the floor general that they desperately needed to put D'Antoni's plan for the offense into place. Nash was able to push the pace of the offense, leading the league in the metric and keeping opposing teams running out of gas and struggling to keep up. This completely took the league by storm, and almost no one had a true answer on how to slow down this revamped Suns team. They finished the season with a record of 62-20, earning the top seed in the Western Conference. To put the cherry on top, for his efforts in the massive franchise turnaround, Nash was awarded the league's MVP award after averaging 15.5 points and 11.5 assists per game, while shooting an extremely efficient 50.2% from the field, 43.1% from three, and 88.7% from the free throw line. Nash was also joined by Marion and Stoudemire in the All-Star game. This was a historic season for the Suns, tying their best record in franchise history, along with marking the greatest single-season improvement in franchise history, winning 33 more games than the year prior. It appeared to be a season of destiny for Phoenix heading into the postseason, and they matched up against the Memphis Grizzlies in the opening round. The Suns made quick work of Memphis, taking the series in 4 games. This set them up against the Dallas Mavericks in the second round. Nash was given the perfect opportunity to get revenge on his former team, who failed to match the contract that he was offered by Phoenix. Even with Nash playing very well through the series, this was a very hard-fought series, with the Suns able to advance in 6 games, following a 130-126 overtime win. The gauntlet of the Western Conference did not let up in the Western Conference Finals, where the San Antonio Spurs awaited them. Stoudemire absolutely dominated through this series, averaging 37 points per game, the most from a player in the Western Conference Finals. The Suns finally met their match and were unable to keep up with the talent the Spurs had on their roster, eventually falling in 5 games. Despite falling short of a finals appearance, this was still an incredible season for Phoenix, especially when taking into account just how massive of a turnaround they had from the season prior. The 2005-2006 season was met with adversity. After a dominant showing against San Antonio, Stoudemire was forced to undergo microfracture surgery in his knee, leading to him missing all but 3 games during the 2005-2006 season. Along with this, Joe Johnson demanded a trade from the team, and he was eventually moved for Boris Diaw and 2 first-round picks. Even without Stoudemire, the Suns proved that they were not a one-season wonder and continued to put their foot on the neck of the rest of the league with their 7 seconds or less offense, once again leading the league in pace. The Suns wound up taking second place in the West this season, finishing behind only the Spurs. Nash took home his second straight MVP, becoming the first point guard to do so since Magic Johnson. Along with this, Diaw proved to be a perfect addition to the team, fitting in perfectly with the scheme and earning the league's Most Improved Player award. Earning the second seed in the West did not do the Suns any favors, as they matched up against the Los Angeles Lakers in the first round. At this time, the Lakers were mainly a one-man show, led by Kobe Bryant, without him having much of a supporting cast. However, even slowing down a player of Kobe's caliber is much easier said than done. It appeared as if the Suns were well on their way to being eliminated in the first round after they went down 3-1. However, they were able to win the final 3 games of the series and narrowly escape to the second round, where they matched up against the Los Angeles Clippers. This was an extremely back-and-forth series, with neither team really being able to get an upper hand until the final game of the showdown. Game 5 even went into double overtime, where the Suns were able to escape with a 125-118 win. Phoenix was able to finally truly pull away in Game 7, where they took a dominant 127-107 win to punch their ticket to the Western Conference Finals on the back of 20 made threes, which was a then NBA record. In this series, the Suns faced off against the Dallas Mavericks. While they were able to take down the Mavericks in the previous years, the absence of Stoudemire through this year's playoff run would be very clear through this series. Without him on the floor, Dirk Nowitzki was more or less able to run free and get whatever he wanted against a shorthanded Phoenix front court. Despite this, the Suns were able to hold their own, but ultimately fell in 6 games. Even though they were stopped just short of a finals appearance for the second straight season, this was still a great year for the team, especially when taking into account that they were missing arguably their second best player for almost the entirety of the season. Now, with the 06-07 season starting, the Suns had experience and championship aspirations. They were also getting plenty of attention amongst fans and the rest of the league. Being stopped just short of the finals 2 years in a row left the Suns hungry with something to prove, and many believed that the 06-07 season would be their year to win it all. They were nothing short of dominant through the regular season, going on 15 and 17 game win streaks at certain points of the year. It appeared as if nothing was going to stand in their way of a title this season, and they had finally mastered D'Antoni's 7 seconds or less offense. Towards the tail end of the regular season, they were in a neck-and-neck battle with the Dallas Mavericks for the top seed in the Western Conference. While they wound up falling short of the top seed by 6 games, this would be a blessing in disguise, as the Mavericks were upset in the first round by the We Believe Golden State Warriors. While there's no telling how the Suns may have fared, they instead faced off against the Los Angeles Lakers in the first round. For the second straight season, Phoenix was able to send the Lakers packing, this time ending the series in only 5 games. In the second round, they faced off against the Spurs. Many have looked back on this series as the true finals of the 2006-2007 season. This will be remembered as the series where Robert Horry hip-checked Steve Nash into the scores table near the end of Game 4. This led to the suspension of Amari Stoudemire and Boris Diaw in the following game, because they stepped onto the court from the bench and the Suns dropped Game 5 at home, 88-85, and then lost Game 6 at San Antonio. Game 3 is also brought into question with several perceived bad calls, and a rumor that official Tommy Nunes did not like Suns owner Robert Sarver, and therefore pointed out things to call against the Suns in film decisions, and did not give equal energy in pointing things out to watch out for the Spurs. It doesn't help that Tim Donaghy talked about the crew not liking Robert Sarver, and indicated there may have been some unethical shenanigans from the officials. Was there a fix-in? We will never know. Despite it all, the Spurs were legendary and handled their business, and the Suns experienced some bad luck. The Spurs were able to go on and win the finals over the Cleveland Cavaliers, and there's a strong chance that if Phoenix was able to win this series, they too would have been able to bring home a title. One of the biggest what-ifs in franchise history, especially because of the controversial suspensions. This is a painful memory for Suns fans and will always be remembered in infamy in the league. The 07-08 season would become the final run for the 7 seconds or less Suns. Over the offseason, the Suns brought in Steve Kerr to be the team's general manager. One of his first moves after being hired was to sign Grant Hill to a 1-year, $1.8 million deal. Up to this point in his career, Hill had been constantly fighting injuries that greatly stifled what could have been an even more impressive career. However, he was able to start in 68 of the 70 games that he played in during the 2007-2008 season. they started off the regular season strong with a record of 34-14 prior to February 6th. On the 6th, Phoenix made a blockbuster trade that effectively brought an end to the 7 seconds or less era of the team. The deal sent Shawn Marion and Marcus Banks to the Miami Heat for Shaquille O'Neal. Marion served as an integral part of the Suns' core, but Kerr saw the deal as too promising to pass on. While Shaq would give the Suns an elite front court paired alongside Stoudemire and aid in a potential matchup against the Spurs in the postseason. However, with him being 35 years old at this point and well over 300 pounds, it was clear that the 7 seconds or less offensive scheme would have to come to an end to accommodate their newest star. The Western Conference was ultra-competitive this season, with the first and 8 seeds only being separated by 7 games. Phoenix finished the regular season as the 6th seed in the West and matched up against the Spurs in the first round. While O'Neal was acquired for this specific matchup, it did not tip the scales in the Suns' favor as they had hoped, and the team fell in just 5 games, with O'Neal averaging 15.2 points, 9.2 rebounds, and 2.6 blocks a game, while shooting 44% from the field. This season effectively marked the end of the 7 seconds or less era for the Suns, with D'Antoni moving on to the New York Knicks the following season. All good things come to an end, as the old saying goes. Now that we know how the team performed through the 7 seconds or less era, let's take a look at some of the key players who made this out-of-the-box offensive approach possible and executed it nearly to perfection. Steve Nash was the most essential piece to the offense. He was the floor general who the offense ran through, and he had an elite ability to control the pace of the game and control the entire floor. His elite passing vision made it easy for him to find the open man for a quick shot, as opposing teams were still trying to get matched up on defense. Playing in this offense led to the most successful stretch of Nash's career. He made the All-Star team in all 4 seasons, made the All-NBA first team 3 times and the second team once, and also took home 2 MVPs. Another integral piece to the puzzle was Amar'e Stoudemire. Stoudemire was an ultra-athletic big man who could jump out of the gym. He and Nash were one of the most dangerous pick-and-roll duos in the entire league during this time. The surgery that he was forced to undergo during the 05-06 season was a crushing blow to the team, and if he was available that year, it could be argued that the Suns could have won it all. He made the All-Star game in 3 of the 4 seasons, made the All-NBA first team once and the second team twice. The final piece of the big 3 of the Suns during this era was Shawn Marion. Marion spent most of this stretch of his career playing power forward, but he also spent a season at small forward. While his jump shot was one of the ugliest of all time, he had a respectable enough 3-ball that kept opposing defenses honest and allowed him to stretch the floor. Marion was a very talented 2-way player and arguably the most versatile player on the Suns. He made the All-Star team twice and the All-NBA third team twice. Marion being traded was the unofficial end of this elite era for the Suns, and once he departed, it quickly became clear just how integral he was. In summary, why did they come short of winning an NBA title? You could point to defensive statistics, with the Suns ranking 30th, 28th, 23rd, and 25th in points allowed per game during this era. Some of that can be explained because of the track meet pace they played at. The year Amar'e missed due to surgery leaves fans wondering what might have been, especially coming off the previous season. The Robert Horry hip check in the playoffs is also often mentioned, which left Amar'e Stoudemire and Boris Diaw suspended for a pivotal Game 5 in Phoenix. Some also question why they would move Shawn Marion and trade for a player in Shaq that didn't fit their style. The Suns were willing to try whatever they could to try and get past the Spurs, but ultimately just could not get over the hump. So, how good were the 7 seconds or less Phoenix Suns actually? While there are better and more dominant teams from the mid-2000s, the 7 seconds or less Phoenix Suns were an elite group and should be remembered for their place in history. They were among the funnest teams of all time to watch, and they won a lot of games, and arguably share responsibility in the transformation of the league in pace and shooting 3-pointers. Nash put the league on notice with his 2 MVPs, and the brand of basketball took the Suns from one of the worst teams in the Western Conference to 4 straight playoff appearances and being championship contenders. There is no doubt that they were good enough to be in position to win it all. Things just seemed to never shake out exactly how they needed it to. This was one of the best 4-year stretches in Phoenix Suns history, and you cannot tell the story of the NBA through the mid-2000s without talking about this team.